Tobacco was one of those crops that really showed the nature of slavery and that it creates this web that everybody gets involved in. Even the poorest people in Ireland were involved in this web as well. It's important to understand the context of when we have been talking about slaves here, we're talking about chattel slavery, where you are a slave, and if you're a woman and you have a child, then the child is also a slave. Unfortunately, very much the same way that if you owned cattle, the produce of the cows would be your property. Tobacco is really essential to the telling of the story of slavery in North America. It was grown of tobacco in the early 1600s around the Jamestown settlement that led to the first importation of black Africans to work for the owners of the farmland. Tobacco requires a lot of work. You see these plants here, they're quite healthy. In the springtime, they have to be planted as small seedlings, and the ground has to be prepared, and then it has to be kept weeded until they get to a certain size. Then, during the summer, if there's any bugs or insects, there's no insecticides, so every bug has to be crushed by hand every day on the leaves to ensure that you have high quality leaves. The other part of the work would have involved, when it got to this stage, the flower head would have to be pulled off, because what we want is to have the growth go into the large leaves here, and by taking off the flower head, it means that the growth doesn't go into the seed and the energy is put into the leaves. The other thing I had to do as well was removing these wee suckers between the leaves, because again, we want to put all the energy into the large leaves and not into the offshoots. Eventually, the tobacco is harvested, and the harvesting process is relatively straightforward, although laborious. You would take off one of the large leaves, you would tie them up into bundles, and then the leaves would be dried in tobacco barns. The tobacco would be processed and put into barrels and sent to the port. It would be exported then to Great Britain and to Europe. Tobacco was one of the 3 plantation crops that came back to Ireland and was very much desired by everybody. Tobacco was desired by the rich and the poor as a smoke. Cotton was sent back to Ireland, which was able to undercut linen cloth and was worn by many people, and also then sugar, which was desired by everybody. Tobacco was one of those crops that really showed the nature of slavery and that it creates this web that everybody gets involved in. Even the poorest people in Ireland were involved in this web as well.